Greetings, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Rich Kerr, and I'm with Alpha Software. I'd like to take just a few moments to share with you a demo version of an application we've built for a large metropolitan police department. The idea behind this app is to create a tool that allows police officers to collect the relevant data on a traffic stop or any other kind of encounter, and to make that process straightforward and as error-free as possible, and to eliminate the need to use a paper card or other paper form that later has to be transcribed or re-entered into the database back at headquarters. With this mobile app, we can be connected real time to whatever data store that the organization is using. There are so many data points that we're asking police officers to capture in the field. So what we've done to simplify the data entry process is we've grouped those data points into various pages. So you can think of this as the main menu of the form, and from this menu you can jump into any one of the pages to complete the information or to fill out the information that's required. There's also a timer at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and tap that. So that records how much time I'm spending filling out this information. That can be another metric that we capture over time to see how long it's taking for our officers to complete this information. You'll notice at the bottom there's a usage mode. So during the demonstration phase, we can have that there to indicate whether or not you're using live data or we're going to say training data. So I'm going to tap on training to avoid having my home address captured by the app. So we'll put it in training mode. Let's go to the date and location page. You'll see that it's already captured the current date and time. Of course, we can tap those buttons labeled today and now to update that. If it were like if we started this yesterday but didn't complete it and it had yesterday's date, you could tap today to make it have today's date. The idea though is that we want to get these completed during the stop, right? But you can modify the date and time. Now notice where it says adult or juvenile. I'll tap there, and this is a drop-down list with just two choices. The citizen is either an adult or a juvenile. They can't be both. So I'm going to pick adult and hit the check mark. Now with the event recorded field, that's also a drop-down list. This one has a few choices, and you could have more than one selection. Perhaps the event was captured with our body-worn camera, and maybe there was also a security camera on the side of a building nearby where we did the stop. So you could select multiple items in this list. So any of the drop-downs can be designed to require a single selection or allow multiple. Where it says address of stop, okay, so this is an important piece of information, right? Where did the stop occur? And of course, you could tap in each one of those fields and type in an address or even use the voice, right? If I go to where it says street address and I tap in the field, I get my pop-up keyboard just like I do if I have a text message or an email that I need to send. My keyboard pops up. But we can also use the microphone. 3250 South Halsted Street. So I was able to use my microphone to capture the address, and there we go. And then, of course, I could do the same thing with the city, county, state, etc. But even with using the voice recording, that's a lot of data points. Because I'm using a mobile device, the app can use the GPS signal and fill this information in for us. So I'm going to tap where it says Get GPS Address. It takes just a second or two to connect to the satellites, and then it pulls in the GPS information. What's nice is that when you pull in the GPS information, you sometimes get more than just the street address, depending on whether or not it's sort of a commercial establishment. So you see that it pulled in the location category as business, the location type as retail, and even the name of the business or organization. Then it's got the street address and even the neighborhood, right? So this is an example too of how we can limit or hide the fields that are not being used to cut down on the visual clutter. So let me illustrate. Notice that we've got the category, the type, the business, the neighborhood, and then the street. We've got the county, the city, the state, the zip. If I clear the addresses, notice the only fields that we're showing to the officer as something that we want to require are the address, the city, county, state, zip. And we don't have to show the latitude and longitude. Those come in automatically too. But if we tap Get GPS Address, Then the additional fields that got populated by the GPS signal popped up as well. The location category, the location type, etc., business name, and even the neighborhood, near north side. It also populated the latitude and longitude coordinates. So all that information is now part of the record. Now, if I wanted to see a visual of this information, if I tap Show Map View, it'll go out and pull up a map of that address, so we can actually see the map context of where we are. And depending on the location, you can even get photos of the location of where you are, right? So you can tap in on that and get some more information about the location where we're doing our work. And I can close that out. Okay, so that's an example of the kind of automation that we can use to cut down on the manual data entry process. Now at the top, you'll see a back arrow, and the label of the current page is date and location. But if I tap that back arrow, it brings me back to the main menu. Let's go ahead to the contact info page. So I'm going to tap in the last name field. And again, I could use my keyboard if I wanted to. We'll type in Corleone as the last name. If I go to the first name field, again, I could type or use my microphone. Michael. And I'll go to the nickname field. I'll tap into the field and choose my microphone again. College boy. And there we go. So it's really fast when we use the speech to text. We'll go to date of birth, and I'll just kind of pick a random date here. You see it's very easy. Use these spin buttons or spin controls to spin the date, spin the month, and spin the year to select a given date. For the email address, I'll tap in username, and we'll do, say, M. Corleone. And then for the domain, if we tap in there, we'll see at Gmail, at Yahoo, because those are some of the more common email domains. So we'll tap the at Gmail, and now you've got his email address captured with a minimum of data entry and keyboard use. Now, of course, you could type in another domain if it wasn't Gmail, Yahoo, etc. Where it says address of residence, right? So let's suppose where we encountered Mr. Corleone was also at his home. So there's no need to retype in the address. I'll just say copy stop location, and then the address from the previous page comes in, okay? But it could be a different address. Maybe he was at someone's house when we encountered him, but it wasn't his house. So again, since we're not at the location that's his home address, I wouldn't want to do GPS here, but I can tap home address and again, use my voice. 5420 West Madison Avenue. And there you go. And then you have fields for cell phone or home phone. We'll just enter a value here. And you'll see that once we put in that 10-digit phone number, the formatting is automatic. And we've got a section for physical appearance, so I can hit the drop down and choose gender. How tall is he? We'll say he's 5 feet and 8 inches. And his weight we'll put in as 172. For the build, we'll go with average. For eye color, we'll go with brown. For hair color, we'll go with black. For hairstyle, what will we say here? Here's a drop-down list of a bunch of different styles. We'll say dreadlocks. For complexion, I'll go with white. And for race, we'll go with white. And for ethnicity, we'll go with Italian. Right? So again, you can choose which of these fields you'd like to use for your organization's application, or if there's something that you want that you're not seeing here in our proof of concept, let us know and we can add it in. We can add it in for you. Scars, marks, tattoos, right? Facial hair. We have drop downs for some of this stuff, and you could also leave some of these things as free-form text fields. Now, we've all heard the term, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we have a section for capturing a photo of the citizen. So when we tap that, we can go and grab the photo from our phone's camera really fast. And there we go. We got the picture recorded now, and that becomes part of the record. And part of what's nice is that not only do you have the photo, but you can mark it up. So let's say you want to call attention to a specific area of the photo. There's a pen icon in the lower right-hand corner. So I'll tap that, and it opens up this view where I can specify what my pen color is going to be, and what the pen thickness is. So if I go with, say, blue, and I'll go with a very thin pen thickness and choose done, I can now use that to mark up part of the screen, right? So you could, draw arrows or whatever, make a circle, and then save that. So you've now got a marked up version of the image if you were trying to call attention to some part of it, and that then becomes part of the record. And there you go. So, and then if you ever need to zoom in on that, you just tap the picture again and you get a larger view. Okay. So that really helps to complete the physical traits, the appearance component. There is a section for clothing, right? Add clothing item. So I tap color, we tap, say, red, then we tap item, and we find the option tie. Yep. Yeah, let's go back to that. So we'll go to item, and I wanted to do tie instead of t-shirt. There we go. And then you can make a note. So we can say that it was a paisley tie, whatever, right? You get the idea. And you can add more clothing items if you want. We see add clothing item. So that gives me a place to put now a second clothing item. So I'll come down and say white. And then we'll go to where it says item, and we'll choose shirt, right? So we'll find shirt in our list. And there we go. And you can just keep doing that. Now, earlier when I wanted to go back to the main menu, we used that back button up at the top left. But if you just wanted to proceed on to the next page in the app, you have that at the bottom of each page is a link to go to the next. So I'll tap at the bottom where it says go to employer school info, and then we could put in information about their employer, if there is information on that, or if there were a student, we could record school information. So here's an example of another way we can save time. If we tap in school, this is now a drop-down list of every school in the city. And that's a big list. So I'm going to tap where it says search ad, and I'll start typing the name of a school. So I'll type in a few letters, and there we go. We have a few names that match. So we'll go with Walter Payton College Prep and hit the check mark. Okay. Grade level, we'll say that Mr. Collion is in 11th grade, and we'll hit the check mark. You get the idea. And of course, you could put in the school address, much like how we saw earlier. If the incident occurred at the school, we'd say copy stop address. Or if it happened at the employer, we would do that up there with the employer section if the employer was the same location as the stop address. And if that's not the case, and we tap that on accident, we can just clear it. Let's go to driver and car info. So where it says identification, and it says name verified, yes, no, and there's nothing else visible from that section. If I leave it blank or tap no, that's how it stays. But if I choose yes, that section expands for me to indicate what kind of ID was provided. So we'll hit the drop down, and I'll choose driver's license, right? But you could do more than one. We could say driver's license and work ID, for example. You also could take a photo of the driver's license if you wanted to, or the work ID. So another area where a photo could be useful. Vehicle information, I'll choose yes for vehicle involved, and then that section expands. Plate number, right? So we could go in there and add some plate data, and then we'd be done with that pretty quickly. What type of plate? We'll say a passenger plate. You could indicate the state that it's from. So let's say he's a resident of New York. We can tap that. You get the idea. Indicate when the plate expires. We'll say it expires July of 22. Okay. And also there's a place where you could scan in the vehicle identification number, right? So we can use the barcode scanner. You guys can see that there. I'm not actually going to scan a VIN here, but on the inside door jamb on the driver's side, there's typically a barcode for the VIN. So you could scan that in, or if you didn't have that, you could just type it in. Okay. Make, model, style, and color. Let's click where it says make. And I'm going to choose, for example, we'll say Honda. So after choosing Honda, the make dropdown now shows me Honda models, Accord, Pilot, Passport, etc. I'm going to leave it on, say, CRV and hit the check mark. Style, I'll say crossover. And then for the color, I'll choose, say, gray. So you get the idea. Now, if let's say it wasn't a Honda, if I tap back in there and choose, say, BMW, then when I go to the model drop down, I now see models of BMW. So I'll go with X5 and hit the check mark. So it was a BMW X5, not a Honda CRV. And yes, there's been a placeholder. A placeholder's been put here for a photo of the car. All right. Disposition of the stop, enforcement action taken. If I choose yes, then I have additional fields to say what kind of action. We could say written warning or personal service citation. And then if it's personal service citation, well, what was the number? And then what were the cited violations or charges? And you could indicate that here. Broken tail light and driving without insurance. There you go. Fast. Now, it recorded me saying tail like, so I'll just tap in there and fix that word to say light really quickly. Okay, there we go. Let's go on to the gang info. So I'll tap that, and where it says gang faction, we'll hit the drop down. This is a list of most of the known street gangs in the United States. I'm sure there can be some that are not in the known list, but you can certainly add to this list. I'll tap in there, and you can start typing the name of a known gang, and it'll narrow the list down, right? So I'll start typing in, say, VIC, and then we see a gang name, and you can select that. So it's pretty easy to select that. And let's say you needed more information on that particular group. There's a lookup button. So if I tap that, it's going to go out and do a search online to give me some more information so I can learn more about this organization that the person I'm talking to is a member of, right? So known gang hangouts, you could enter information there. Types of gang criminal activities, we have a list like gambling or narcotic sales or sale of stolen property, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to causation info. And here we'll indicate whether or not there was probable cause. We'll choose yes. And then, well, now we need to say what was the reasonable articulable suspicion for the stop. We'll tap that. We have a drop-down list of acceptable entries. So we're going to say gang narcotic-related enforcement, and we'll hit the drop-down. Protective pat-down consented. We'll say yes. Was it conducted? Yes. And was a receipt given? We'll say yes. Okay. Again, reasonable articulable suspicion for pat down, we can say what that was, right? Suspicious object or other reasonable suspicion of weapons. Now, here we can say whether or not weapons or contraband were discovered. If I leave it unchecked or choose no, it stays as is. But if I choose yes, I can go through and indicate, did we find cocaine or heroin, etc. So I'm going to choose yes on cocaine. And I'll enter that we think it was 7 grams. Now, let's say I had a test kit with me. I can choose confirm to say confirmed with field test. So then the heading says actual substances and weights. If I choose not confirmed, it'll now say suspected substances and weights. So again, just a little bit of automation to make the information that we're communicating a little bit more clear. Where it says weapons found, I'll choose yes, and now that expands to say which weapons. I have a drop down where I can say, okay, brass knuckles, pistol, and nunchucks, and we'll hit the check mark. Okay. Now let's go to the narrative section. We'll say go to narrative, and I can use my voice to record a narrative. Let's do that. I'll tap in that field, and then when my keyboard pops up, I'll use the microphone. We saw Mr. Corleone driving at a high rate of speed with non-functioning tail lights. And when we pulled him over to investigate, we discovered he had no insurance. A citation was given, and a follow-up date was given to the suspect. All right. So however that narrative needs to go. Now, again, if you notice any errors from your verbal recording, so his name is not Mr. College. So we're going to modify that. In fact, I could just delete it right there and then use my microphone again. Mr. Corleone. There we go. So it's pretty easy to modify it, even using the voice tool again. So now I've got my narrative there. There's a section now for me to sign. So it's already got my name in as the officer name from me logging into the device. That, of course, could include other identification like a badge number or whatever. I'm going to tap where it says tap to sign, and then you can actually sign. Now, if you turn the phone sideways, you're going to get, you can get the horizontal view of the tap to sign, right? So as long as you've got that setting on your device to make it auto rotate. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my name. So it's a little bit easier, get a little bit more space when it's horizontal, okay? Same thing for the citizen. We'll say tap to sign, turn it horizontal for them so that they can sign. There we go. So now both signatures have been captured. So there's no more pages on the form. We'll go back to the main menu and we have all the information filled out. If you needed to go back and modify something, you can simply tap on any one of the pages to modify that information, and it takes you right into that particular section. And then when you're done, you can submit your report and you're ready to move on to the next stop. And then all this information is being collected back at the central office, where it can be viewed through a dashboard using infographics like charts and maps of the information to show where hotspots are. There's all sorts of things we can do with the data on the back end, and that can be determined with further conversation about your particular department's needs. So I hope you found this interesting. If you'd like to talk more and learn more, please reach out. I'm happy to talk with you about it. Again, my name is Rich Kerr. I'm with Alpha Software, and you can reach me at 781-462-6714. And my email address is rich.kerr, Kerr, at alphasoftware.com. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day.